everybody, this is Mrs. Clemens, and I am here to try to give you guys some advice on how to be successful on this year's DBQ. It's mostly for my students, but anyone else is welcome to enjoy. All right, so our first thing, definitely try to outline prior to writing your essay. One of the things that I've noticed from a bunch of my students is that they're disorganized, and you need to organize a bit to have an idea of what your thesis is going to be, what you're going to be proving. I gave you guys a bunch of different outlines that you can choose from to kind of help you out. You can come up with your own. I don't care, but you really need to do something so that you can organize your thoughts ahead of writing. I really recommend that you have a bunch of different timers going. You're going to already have the one from the College Board going. I always say it's nice to have a backup timer. I would even have a timer that you're setting for 5 to 7 minutes to give you your time to, as I call it, look at the documents and outline time. And definitely practice outlining. You don't have to write all the essays, but practice outlining all kinds of different topics. It will certainly help you out to get an idea of how to do it quickly and efficiently. The different places where you can go, my students, you could go to AP Classroom and Albert.io. There's so many prompts. Even if you're looking at an LEQ, that can be really, really helpful to you. All right, so let's talk about the rubric. So it's a 10-point rubric as opposed to our regular 7-point rubric. And so let's talk about this. So the first one is contextualization. We've always had that. What was happening in the lead up to the prompt? Make sure that whatever you're talking about in your contextualization actually goes with the prompt. So if your essay is talking about social stuff and you're talking about economics, make sure that somehow it goes. Otherwise, maybe choose something that actually goes with what was causing or what was happening at the time of the prompt. Your contextualization for it to actually needs to be at least 2 or 3 sentences. Your thesis, probably one of the most important things because it gives you direction. What are you proving your essay? We're going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later in this presentation. Probably the easiest point for you to get is the summarization point, where you have to summarize 2 documents. So what are the documents talking about? Describe them. Don't quote from the documents. Analyzing. All right, so now we're getting a little bit more, a little bit harder of a skill. Make sure to get this point, you need to relate the documents back to what you're trying to prove. So you get 1 point for analyzing 2 documents. You get another point for analyzing another 2 documents. This is really, really difficult because it means you have to not only discuss 4 documents, but you need to analyze 4 documents. And this is really difficult to do. I'm advising a lot of my kids to not even try it unless you're a really strong writer. All right, then you get another point for hipping 1 document, and we're going to talk about how to HIPP in a little bit. You get another point for hipping 1 more document for a total of 2 HIPPs. Outside information, you get 1 point for having 1 piece. Again, it can't just be some sort of drive-by fact where you just sort of, define a vocab term or that you just, mention a person. Like you need to actually describe them. And so, you need to go into some detail and it needs to be something not mentioned in the documents. So 1 point for 1 piece of outside information, another point for another piece of outside information, and then your last point is the unicorn point. It's really difficult to get under the best of circumstances. Some of the ways that you can get it is by kind of talking about cause and effect. Overall, you need to do both, compare and contrast. You need to do both continuity and change over time, and it's for overall complexity in your essay, which is really, really difficult to do. Like I said, under normal circumstances, this is going to be even more difficult. Again, unless you're a really strong writer, I wouldn't waste my time attempting it. All right, so your basic outline, I really think you can do this essay in 4 paragraphs. Some of you guys are going to be able to do it in 5. Awesome, great. So in your introduction, you're going to have your contextualization, your thesis. In your first body paragraph, you're going to have 1 to 2 documents. The ones you're going to choose documents that you know and you can thoroughly understand. If you don't understand a document, you shouldn't be mentioning it. And you're going to attempt to try to describe it, HIPP it, and link it back to the prompt. In your next body paragraph, you're going to do another 1 to 2 documents. This could be either another reason, like to prove your thesis, or it could end up being your counterpoint, however you wanted to do it. If you have time, it's not required that you write a conclusion. If you have time, you can have a conclusion on there. One of the big reasons why I say to kids to do a conclusion is to restate your thesis. So a lot of times you're in the flow and you do a bit better. Technically, your unicorn can be anywhere in the essay. Actually, technically, your contextualization can be too. But I feel like the unicorn, it just works really well in the conclusion, but you can get it going anywhere. Your thesis can only go in your conclusion and your introduction, and you want to keep your documents to the body paragraphs. All right, so listen, this is just me maybe guessing. I know nothing. They have not released anything about what you need to have. They're not doing it until they start grading them. So this is just a guess, all right? And it's based on how my own students are writing so far. But yeah, you kind of need to sort of game it out where you think is best for you. These are just for, again, my own students, how I think things are working for them based on how they've been doing all year and grading their essays. So I think the easiest points to go for, thesis statement, like what are you proving? Summarizing 2 documents, super easy. Now trying to analyze 2 documents, relate them back to your thesis, pop in a piece of outside information that you're explaining really well, and if you're good at it, go for contextualization. Now, if you're trying to get a few more points, have your contextualization, your thesis, you're summarizing 2 documents, you're analyzing 2 documents, you've got a HIPP. I think HIPP is a little bit harder than outside information because you can get HIPP wrong, and we're going to talk about that. If you have time to do another HIPP or another piece of outside information, that bumps you up. And then really cream of the crop, which I'm telling you is difficult, so that's why I really don't know that that's going to be a 5, but yeah, so contextualization, thesis, you're summarizing 2 documents, you're analyzing 2 documents, you're hipping 2 documents for 2 more points. You've got 2 pieces of outside information. So yeah, you can do this with 2 documents where you're going into really good detail. It's really kind of hard to get that extra thing, but you can do that if you analyze another 2 documents or if you're able to get the unicorn point. All right, so the most important thing that you need to do is you need to address the prompt. The prompt is your guide. Make sure that you understand what the prompt is asking you. You're going to use that to make a thesis. My students on Google Classroom, I have a little thesis clinic for you guys where you can check it out. And there's, that formula that we've talked about before. That's going to help you because you need to write a complex thesis. For the most part, your thesis statement is going to be 2 sentences. The A and B is what's going to help you to make your 2 body paragraphs. So you need to, this goes with outlining ahead of time, you need to think about what you're going to be writing. All right, quality over quantity. We talked about this before. The purpose is to show what you know and to earn college credit. So summarizing, like saying that you can summarize all 5 documents, like I have a lot of kids that are writing, well, document 1 says, document 2 says, that's not showing what you know. That's showing that you can summarize documents, which is not really a college skill. So you want to focus on 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, depending on how good you are in time. Hopefully you're practicing a ton. It's really, really going to be hard to get the 4 documents. So you know you the best. All right, so I always say keep APE in mind, and that's what we use in my class. Some other people use ACE. So answer, what is the document talking about? That's going to get you your summarization point. Provide specific historical examples. What are some specific people, events, laws, ideas, whatever, that are associated with the document? And then explain how, all right, why do we care? How is this relating to our thesis? So depending, if you're able to ape each document, this is going to help you to get the summary point, the analysis point, and possibly outside information point, and maybe even the HIPP. So definitely ape is our friend. Don't quote from the documents, guys. We talked about this a million times. You don't have time to do it. The readers already know the documents. The purpose of the test is to demonstrate your knowledge, not your ability to copy something. Put the ideas of the documents in your own words. All right, to HIPP. All right, so some of you guys are really great at hipping, so HIPP, go for it. If you're not great at hipping, then look at the other things that you're better at to focus on to get your points, all right? So you're not going to get a point by saying, document number 1 is from the point of view of a patriot. That's not enough. You need to actually know who that patriot is and why they have that point of view, all right? So again, you want to ape. So answer whatever HIPP you're choosing. Explain, how do you know that it's the person's point of view, purpose, or who their intended audience was? Or you're going to do what I recommend. I think the best one to do is historical situation. Explain the background which led to the document. Make sure that you're providing examples. You really want to show what you know, and that's why hipping is difficult. It's a real skill. So make sure that you have something specific. If you're just saying it in one sentence, you're not going to get the point. And I know I just said this, but historical situation, man, it's just so much. You're so much more likely to get that. You could get the wrong point of view, or you could get the wrong purpose, the wrong audience. I think historical situation is the way to go. All right, so you need to have specific factual information. Make sure that, for my students, make sure that you guys have joined my Quizlet class. I've got Quizlet lists for periods 3 through 7. You should be studying that so that you can use specific vocabulary terms. Think about all the times you're capitalizing in your essay to use specific people or places or laws or things. If you don't have a lot of capitalizations, then you're not bringing in a lot of specific information. And my students get extra credit for using Quizlet. All right, so you definitely want to use topic sentences because you want to get this analysis point. The point is to prove your thesis. So you need to make sure that the reader knows that you're attempting to prove your thesis. So start each body paragraph with a topic sentence. So one example would be, while some colonists were in favor of independence from Britain, others remained loyal to their mother country. One way this was illustrated was, and you could say, as shown in document whatever, but don't start your paragraph, document number 1 says. It's a real tee-off that you're not going to be having a lot of analysis there. And then end each body paragraph with a summary sentence. These events caused many colonists to change their opinion about independence. They realized that they no longer wanted to be subject to the whims of the crown. This is definitely going to help you to get the analysis point. Remember, you get 1 point for analyzing 2 documents, 2 points for analyzing 4 documents. Definitely practice extra essays, and I'm sorry, I'm a really slow grader. Otherwise, we would be doing 2 essays a week. But you could definitely practice on your own. Use AP Classroom and Albert.io. What should you be doing with these prompts? Do what works best for you. If you need to work on timing, then work on timing. If you need to work on outlining, then work on outlining. If you're having a lot of issues with contextualization and thesis, then practice them over and over again. Work on hipping, work on outside information. And yeah, you can spend 45 minutes and write the whole essay. But yeah, do the things you need to do your best on the essay. All right, folks, that was me talking really, really fast. I hope that this helped out a little bit.